there, Star Wars collectors, and welcome to another Bosk's Bounty video. And in this video I'm going to be reviewing the vintage collection The Stranger, or Qimir, from the Acolyte. Now this is the third figure from the wave that I am reviewing, the first one being Padme Amidala, second one being Shakti. Hopefully you guys have already watched those videos, they are on the channel right now, but this time it is the turn of the Stranger. And I make no secret of the fact that the Acolyte isn't exactly at the top of my list when it comes to, you know, what Disney Star Wars have put out since buying the franchise, you know. But if you're going to ask me which character would I like them to make from that series, regardless of whether I like the series or not, it would have to be the Stranger. It is a pretty cool character. You know, he's a red lightsaber wielding character, Sith if you like, and he looks pretty decent. So we're going to take a look at the card back as always, and then we're going to open up the figure and check it out. Alright then, so here is the card back for the Stranger, and you can see there in the name pill they do have both names. So you've got the Stranger and then Qimir in brackets. The figure does allow you to create both looks. It has a swappable head helmet there, removable sort of poncho. And the image that they've chosen there is a really good image there. Really moody card back, this one. And I think the blue that they've chosen for the name pill and the panel behind the figure really does sort of make him pop there. Nice contrast with the red lightsaber on that image there. And I think that is from either the battle with one of the main characters, or it might even be the battle against all of the Jedis, which was probably the best scene from the whole show. Yeah, I can't recall a lot of their names, unfortunately. Sorry about that, but it's VC382 in the line. And what's interesting about this figure is that they did release him in the Black Series as well. And in the Black Series, what they opted for was a sort of hard goods poncho with soft goods legs. Whereas on this one, they've gone for the plastic legs and the soft goods poncho. And I know a lot of people, when this was revealed, didn't really quite like the look of the legs, but we will check them out in this video. As always, as I mentioned, 382 in the line. Yeah, pretty decent card back, this one. If you're a fan of the Acolyte, then you're going to love this figure. Right, let's open the figure up and check it out. All right then, so here is the figure out of the packaging, and at the moment I've got him set up how he was packaged in the packaging with regards to the human head. So we've got Qimir there, and of course you can swap it out with the helmet to be the Stranger. He has his double lightsabers, as you can see there. One of them is shorter than the other. Obviously this all matches the source material, and the lightsaber is really quite interesting to me because I don't think this was something that we've ever seen in Star Wars before. At least I can't remember seeing it. You know, you've had figures with double lightsabers, you know, lightsabers that come apart and things like that, but I'm not too sure if I've ever seen one where, you know, the lightsaber hilt is a 2-in-1, where just a little piece of it, this piece here, would come out, and that's that piece there, and then the rest of it is that hilt there. Obviously this piece doesn't actually come apart. I think that piece would be far too small, but it does have a peg on there, so on the figure you are going to be able to, you know, display the figure with the lightsaber hilt rather than the lit lightsabers. But there he is holding both. We will obviously take a very close-up look at that head sculpt, because I'm pretty confident it is a really good likeness. I was fortunate enough to have a look at this figure close up at MCM Comic Con London, so I do know that the head sculpt is really good. It's a great likeness, and even the details as well on the helmet are pretty good as well. So we will take a close-up look at the figure, take the poncho off as well, so we can take a look at what he looks like underneath there, and also, you know, do that head swap with the helmet there. So let's take a closer up look at the figure as it is now. Alright then, so let's take a close-up look at that head sculpt and the portrait and everything, with all of that paint applications on his little moustache and beard. I think that's been applied very, very nicely, and you can see the hairpiece there. Lots of detail. Nicely sculpted hairpiece there. And yeah, I just think they've nailed the head sculpt for the character there. Really, really good. Not too sure of the actor's name. Somebody might be able to remind me in the comments. And then if we want to take a look at the figure, then we're going to need to take the poncho off. So let's just see if we can take that off over the head without taking the head off. I think you can. Yes, you can. There you go. So there he is in his sort of like martial arts outfit, very sort of ninja-esque. But yeah, that head sculpt is really, really good. Very, very good. And if Hasbro want to take a look at this figure on how to do arms for maybe a Dagobah training Luke compared to the one that we've got in that 3-pack, which is awful. It's like a repack of the 3.75 inch Black Series version. Terrible figure, it really is. That's how you do human arms for a figure. Really, really good. That is, you can see on his left arm he does have that gauntlet, and then on the right arm he has what I thought was a tattoo, but I think it actually might just be like dirt or something that's actually on his arm, or a marking of some description. But there you go, once again. Now the legs. So yeah, a lot of people didn't like these legs. Obviously they are very sort of bell-bottomish, very flare-like. And yeah, I think maybe I would have preferred it if they'd gone down the Black Series route and, you know, maybe doing some cloth goods over those legs just to make them a little bit better. They've gone with the cloth goods poncho, which, as I mentioned, with the Black Series they didn't do. So the Black Series version of this is like a solid piece of plastic, and I don't think it looks as good. But certainly the bottom half of the figure, yeah, I think it could have been improved upon, because it really doesn't help the figure when you want to start articulating it and things like that. The knees look, you know, just a bit silly really when you're trying to sort of pose the figure. But all in all, he's looking pretty decent. Let's look at the back of there. See some nice sculpting work on the back of his tunic there, and some of the belt details. Yeah, pretty cool. Right, let's do the head swap. All right then, so we've done the helmet head swap, and obviously I think the figure would look better, you know, with the helmet if he had his poncho on, but I've just kept it off for the time being, just so it doesn't get in the way when we're trying to take a good look at the details, because there are some nice details on there. You can see those cracks on there where it's like been forged together almost. You can see that kind of like zippy effect, if you like, on the mouth of the mask or helmet, if you like. But yeah, there's lots of good details on here. It's got like a sort of marble effect to it, as you can see, in terms of like the color of it. Some bronzes going on, some darker bronze. And yeah, I just think the way that they've sort of accomplished this is pretty decent. You can see the light reflecting off it there. And yeah, I'm just going to put the poncho back on now, because obviously I feel, as I said, you know, when you've got the helmet on, it looks better with the poncho. And here is the figure with the poncho back on. And you can see it's a sort of like double layered piece of fabrics. You've got this piece that just goes over the top, and then the underneath part as well. And that's exactly the same on the back as well. So you've got some layers there, which is pretty cool. So yeah, definitely looks better, you know, when you've got him in the Stranger setup that he has the poncho on, most certainly. But yeah, really nice figure. There's that helmet again. Lots of detail going on there. And in terms of the articulation, it's got everything you possibly would need, really. So, you know, the head is on a double barbell. We have the hinges at the shoulders, hinges at the elbows, which go just about past 90. We've got hinges at the wrists, which is good because he's a lightsaber wielding character. All characters should have hinges at the wrists. You've got the torso joint there, which is just above the belt, and you can also see there is the peg hole for the lightsaber hilt, and that's a nice joint there. We do have the barbell hips. Now, what is missing is the cut at the thigh. So I remember when this was revealed, people were sort of complaining about that. I'm not too sure why they did that. I can't really see it being a cost measure, really. Why would you sort of like not include that? Maybe they just thought with the barbell hips and the knee joints and the legs being so, you know, big, that you wouldn't necessarily need that sort of articulation there. But I do feel that it misses it, sort of moving the figure around and things like that. You kind of almost just want to sort of move it, and it just doesn't move, obviously. But he does have the knee joints there, which, you know, let's face it, look a little bit odd with the big sort of trousers, and he has rocker ankles as well. Accessories. Here is the longer of the two lightsabers. See that hilt there? It's just a solid black piece of plastic with the red blade. And then you have the smaller one as well. Tiny little thing. And then here is the hilt all joined together. with that little peg there, enabling you to place it on his belt. But obviously that's the top of the lightsaber where the blade would come out, and that piece would remove, but it actually doesn't for this particular figure. As I said, I think that piece would just be too small. And then obviously if you want them lit in both hands, you know, you can. All right, and here is the figure one more time. We'll just put the swappable head next to him there with the other accessories. You've got that smaller lightsaber and the lightsaber hilt. And I just wanted to get him in a double-handed lightsaber pose, because obviously he does have the two lightsabers. Maybe he uses those most of the time, but I just wanted to show you that it is possible, especially with the articulation of the arms and the wrists of this figure, that it is possible to get the, you know, the lightsaber being held in both hands, and it's actually, you know, really good articulation from the waist up anyway. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I know the Acolyte is not everybody's cup of tea. It's certainly not my cup of tea necessarily, but I've got to say it is a pretty decent figure. He looks pretty cool, that is for sure. Really good design anyway. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to my Patreon supporters and channel members as always. Your support means a great deal to me. Greatly appreciated as always, so thank you so much, and we shall see you on the next one.